Hey guys, so since Inktober is going on right now, I figured I would do a video of me inking an entire illustration, and one that's quite detailed so that it makes it a little bit more interesting. And this picture is actually the reason I fell behind on my Inktober. So I'm way behind. I just can't commit to every day, but this picture is what sparked all that because it was so time consuming I couldn't finish it in one day. I think I did it in 3 separate sittings. And so, yep. And then once I fell behind, it was so hard to get back into it. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this picture is called Nature Fights Back. I couldn't think of anything that was more cool than that, but I think it accurately describes what the picture is about. So I'm not a real kind of like, let's protect nature kind of person, but this idea just came to my head of a tree growing out of a person. And initially it wasn't supposed to be malicious, but that idea came to my mind after. And initially I drew the girl without her hair covering her eyes, so you can actually see where I drew her eye and then erased it. And I decided to cover it up once I decided this tree it's almost like, it's not evil, but it's evil towards her, like it's harming her. So the idea is that it's growing out of her as if it's growing out of her stomach and up her throat and out her mouth. And then it's also taking control of her hair. I know this is totally like impossible stuff here, but I just think it's a cool concept. So it's like the tree is taking control over her. She can't move, and her hair is moving like tendrils, like almost like if branches of a tree could move on their own and stuff. And it's reaching up and helping support the tree, and also just really latching on, like it's saying, I'm here for good kind of thing. Like the tree is totally taken over. She's totally surrendered, and nature is taken over and is fighting back against the humans who are destroying it. That kind of thing. So that's what the picture is about. And yeah, it's just a whole lot of inking, and it is tedious, but I don't mind tedious work unless I have a crazy deadline I need to hit. I don't mind when stuff like this takes a long time to do, and I actually find it really relaxing. I just pop on some Netflix or something, or some YouTube videos, maybe some music, and then I just go at it, and I just ink and ink and ink, and yeah, I think it's really fun, actually. It's pretty relaxing. It's a lot of the same thing over and over again, so you don't even really need to think much about it. And it might look like I have some kind of method to the way the hair strands all go and how they overlap in certain ways and flow in certain directions, but really it's all just random stuff. And I had the bigger shapes drawn first, as you can see, with a bunch of white in between them. And then I just filled in the gaps with hair, and how it ended up within those chunks was totally random. There's a lot of times where a line screws up, but you can't tell, like 2 lines touch where they weren't supposed to touch, but then it doesn't really matter because it's just hair and it's all over the place. And yeah, so it's hard to explain my thought process behind that. So yeah, although I was thinking of doing some kind of detailed hair tutorial, it would be kind of like this, but also kind of like one of my last Inktober pictures I posted on Instagram the other day. It's a view of the back of a girl's head, and I did pretty detailed hair. I was thinking of doing a tutorial on how to get a look like that. It's kind of like this one, but almost a little more strandy looking, and it almost has shading where there's hills and valleys in the hair, because this one, the hair is not shaded at all. It's all just as it is, just hair, no highlights or shadows. So anyway, I was thinking of doing some kind of hair tutorial like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know, because it's been a long time since I've done drawing tutorials. I've done a lot of tips and tricks type of videos, but not really like a drawing tutorial. So that's something I would be interested in doing for a drawing tutorial, because there's certain things I just don't touch on in tutorials. Like, I don't feel comfortable doing anatomy tutorials. I don't feel comfortable doing hand tutorials, because like those are things I suck at, and so I'm not really authorized to teach those kinds of things. So Yeah, but I can do my best to share what I do know as I learn things. So, yeah. Okay. Where was I going with this? I felt like I was going to say something before I mentioned the Instagram hair, but now I forget. I don't know. Moving on. So, one thing I had to decide on was how much hair is in the background. Because initially there was going to be a lot. Like, it was going to cover most of the background. But then I realized that wouldn't look very good against the tree because it would pretty much cover the tree and make it not very noticeable. And so I decided to just select sections of hair that go up. And then the tree is tricky because bark texture and hair texture, when I do it detailed like this, they're equally detailed. And so when you look at the value of the picture, the white of the page is the lightest value and black being the darkest value. There would be no change in value between the hair and the tree, and so they would just blend in with each other. You wouldn't really tell where the hair stops and where the tree begins, and that's not what I want to go for. I want to make it noticeable that there's a tree there. So I did add some detail to indicate bark, but it's very few lines because I wanted it to stand out from the hair. And I almost considered going darker than the hair and making the tree close to black in a way because it has so much detail, and that way it would contrast well with the hair, but I felt like I wanted the background to be black. Since her skin is white, I felt like it would be a nice contrast to have a pure black background, and therefore I didn't want to make the tree super dark. So I decided to make the tree lighter than the hair by just adding less detail. And I actually went back in and added some more detail to some of the strands that are wrapped around the tree. Since I drew those strands first, I didn't give them the same type of detail as the rest of the hair had. Like there was, for example, I have some lines that are unbroken lines that run from one edge of the strand to the other, and then I have some lines that you do see the end of the line, you see a tapered tip, and the ones that wrap around the tree had too many tapered tips compared to the rest of the picture. And so after I start coloring the background in black, I went back and just fixed it up so that it did contrast with the tree a little bit more. And one thing I do not like is I guess it's the top of the screen, but it's the left-hand side of the picture because you are seeing the picture sideways right now. It is a vertical picture. I feel like I didn't add enough, what's the word I'm looking for? Just different outline shapes, because on the other side, you see that the one strand that's coming up by her chin and wraps around the lower branch of the tree, it's got a really interesting shape to it. I think variation is the word I was looking for. There's not enough variation in the outline of the hair, like the silhouette of it. It's just very smooth, and it's one smooth wave, and I wish I would have made it a little more irregular because it looks too much like this smooth strand, like smooth lock of hair that just goes up, and then there's a skinnier piece coming off of it that's also really smooth. And I feel like that's the main thing I notice when I look at this picture is I feel like, it's too perfect looking. It needs to have more overlapping sections and not such a smooth edge to it. So that's my main thing that I notice. And here I am coloring in the background with my black Copic marker. Oh, and by the way, in terms of materials, I was using my Copic multiliners in size 0.3 and 0.5 for the outlining, and the paper is Hammermill Color. Oh God, what is it called? It's the cover paper. 100-pound paper. And so, yes, and I do not plan on coloring this. I plan on leaving it black and white, which is why I made the decisions that I did when inking. And so, yes, it took a very long time, but overall I'm happy with it, and it's fun sometimes to just not worry about coloring, just stop at either the sketch or at the inks and just have it be like that. And so, I like it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Next week, I'm going to be doing a cheap art supply challenge for my Friday video, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in my next video. Now I'm in Toys R Us. I don't think it's that much bigger than the mall one. I'm not sure. I haven't explored the whole thing yet. I'm just kind of like going one section. And I'm like, there's no one here, so I'm gonna vlog now before I venture out of this area. Here we go. Surprise bags. I feel like I'm really biased and I almost don't want to get ones for like Dora.